Right.
or they can't.
Yeah. Well, they could. Honestly, who cares if you have IP? If they've got more money, they can just take it, and you're going to run out of lawyer money before they do.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's a win-win. I think it's good going to them.
Yeah. Oh, I see you in here, Joe Wilkins. Dylan.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. This is going to be recorded, and we're going to post the recording. So those that were not able to join or attend will be able to retrieve the recording and listen to it afterwards. So the whole point of the prize challenge information session is to make sure that everybody's on the same page going into the prize challenge. We don't want people confused about what they're submitting on, and we want to make sure that the government. Can everyone make sure their mics are muted, please? And we want to make sure that the government's message is clear to the participants. So we'll go through the info session to keep things kind of fluid. If you have a question that pops up, go ahead and put it in the chat. Will's my wingman here, and is going to be going through the chat. And then we'll have our customers, representatives that are here for SERDP and ESTCP that will answer the questions towards the end. If there's something that is, kind of pertinent to what we're talking about in the moment, feel free to raise your hand or try to chime in so we don't go down the wrong path. So we want this to be collaborative. We want it to be information sharing based, and we want to make sure that everybody walks away from here with a good, clear message on what they're actually providing for their prize challenge solution. So any questions as we start? All right, here we go. So again, it's being recorded. The link will be available for everybody to access. We'll probably get it out tomorrow afternoon. So if you know somebody that should have been here but couldn't be here, please feel free to share the link with them as well. The agenda we'll go through, we'll give you a little bit of an overview of Tech Grove. Some of you know who we are, some of you might not. A little bit of an overview of SERDP and ESTCP. We'll go through the challenge problem and desired solution. We'll go through the challenge process, and then we'll do the Q&A at the end with the key dates and reminders. So a little bit about the Tech Grove. We are a innovation hub that is designed to foster cross-sector partnerships. So if you look at all the logos at the bottom, those are all of the government agencies that are members of the Tech Grove. So NOC TSD entered into a partnership intermediary agreement with UCF Research Foundation, and then all of the other organizations which are part of Team Orlando support the Tech Grove and are members of the Tech Grove, and we get challenged with trying to increase the defense industry base by solving problems and transferring technology. So whether that's into the government or out of the government into industry. So the featured speaker of the hour will be Kevin Ayers from SERDP. He's the program manager for resource conservation and resilience. And we have some other experts on the line as well that are here to help Kevin in making sure that we get all of your questions addressed before we leave today. So a little bit about SERDP. Kevin can jump in here after this slide, but just real brief, we put together what SERDP and ESTCP does for the DoD. They fund projects that enhance resilience, natural hazard adaptation, and conservation efforts across 320 plus DoD installations. Their mission is to protect, build, and natural infrastructure, strengthen the defense supply chain, ensure the health and safety of warfighters. And then Wildland Science Initiative develops advanced tools and technology for wildfire response, prescribed fire management, and firefighter training. Is there any key components I missed there, Kevin, that you want to make sure everybody knows about?
No, just very quickly, Chris. Thanks for those introductory remarks, and just want to let everybody know that SERDP is statutorily a partnership between the Department of Energy, EPA, and the Department of Defense to meet research challenges, the most pressing research challenges, needs of the Department of Defense. And we've been around since 1991. That funding includes statutory authority to do basic research, but is a design for applied research. Whereas ESTCP is our tech transfer, demonstration, evaluation funding that typically is used for maturing technology for a purpose as we get to higher TRL. So excited to have both of these programs supporting Tech Grove and being supported by Tech Grove, and looking forward to seeing what kind of technologies we can get access to through this prize challenge as we try to address really the most pressing needs across the country and across installations for wildland fire management. So thanks for that.
Great, thank you, Kevin. So the challenge problem, wildland fire response on and near military lands is increasingly complex due to hazardous fuel conditions and weather extremes. The opportunity is to leverage existing innovations in remotely automated wildfire response equipment from DoD, academia, and private sector initiatives. Rapidly access and deploy improvements to increase efficiency and firefighter safety. So the problem statement is current firefighting methods require advanced ground robotics and automation to address growing wildfire risks effectively. Innovations in remotely operated and autonomous equipment can enhance response capabilities. And then this challenge seeks to harness emerging technology to support firefighting operations in high-risk environments. So some key questions that we kind of came away from the ideation and tabletop exchange that we had was, how does the current technical evaluation process work? How do these evaluations align with SERDP's mission? What tools are used and how can they be improved? What inefficiencies exist in the current evaluation process? And what improvements are necessary? Again, those are broad on purpose because we really want the innovation side of what the prize challenge is here to do, as opposed to being a prescribed requirements-based question and answer. So the desired solution that the customer is hoping to get is that the challenge aims to accelerate the evaluation and deployment of autonomous firefighting technologies, increased efficiency in firefighting operations, improved firefighter safety in hazardous conditions, and scalable solutions for broader adoption in military and civilian applications. And then some key considerations out of that discussion was, what are the ideal characteristics of the solution? How should the evaluation process ensure reliability and effectiveness? What will this impact? How will this impact current personnel and timelines? Can this approach be integrated into pre-award processes? What was a sole source proposal approach selected for this challenge? So the big emphasis on this whole prize challenge is ground. It's been, if you were at the exchange, it was really mentioned heavily. And if you've been kind of communicating back and forth with the Tech Grove, it's been, we're really looking for ground-based solutions. That's the big key component of this prize challenge. And then this is the overview of our process. If none of the industry folks on the line have been involved with a challenge process here at the Tech Grove. So read the challenge page carefully, because the way that we evaluate the challenges is if you answered or submitted what was required on the challenge page. So as long as you follow those it should be very simple, not simple to come up with a solution, but we don't ask for an 80-page document and all kinds of stuff. So it should be a pretty simple solution. The big thing is we're asking for a link for your video, not an MP4. If you submit an MP4, you won't be qualified to participate because the government has a really hard time downloading MP4 files. So please read carefully and submit what has been asked for, and you will be passed along for consideration. Government furnished information on Challenge Gov. We have a deadline set up on when government furnished information will be provided, if any. The government's not required to provide any, but they will if they think it helps. Pay close attention to the deadlines. All the deadlines are in Eastern time. We know some of you are Pacific time. So if the submission is 11:59 Eastern, please pay attention to that if you're in a different time zone. From your team, prepare your submissions accordingly. If we're asking for, a 1-page or a 2-page or a 3-page, don't be the one that submits 30 pages because it's not going to be passed through. And then submissions must follow the challenge instructions. And like I said, the MP4 files and stuff like that. If you have questions, please submit them through to the Tech Grove, and we will get your questions answered.
Oh, not much. I just hanging out in the neighborhood for a little bit.
You got them? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So some key dates. So we just highlighted some key dates. Again, go to Challenge Gov. All the dates are on Challenge Gov. So your deadline for submission is going to be 28 February. So all submissions have to be submitted by 28 February. 18 March is when semifinalists will be announced and invited to register for demo day. Demo day will be remote, so nobody has to travel for demo day. And then your final deliverables for demo day will be due to the Tech Grove on the 8th of April, because we will control all of the stuff here from the Tech Grove, but every company will have an opportunity to do their 15-minute presentation in the morning, and then in the afternoon, there'll be a 15-minute question and answer with the judges. The demonstrations are open to the public, so anybody that wants to register for demos can register for demos. The 15-minute Q&A with the judges are private and will only be the company and the judges having a conversation. The 3 finalists that will be selected out of the demo day will be the ones invited to the live demonstration out in Merritt Island. And out of the live demonstration, the 3 invited will be awarded a first, second, and third prize of $85,000, $55,000, and $30,000. Those checks will come from UCF. They won't come, the money comes to UCF from the government, but the money doesn't get paid out by the government. The money will get paid out to UCF. So if you are not a UCF vendor and you're serious about the prize challenge, I would highly suggest that you go through the process now and become a UCF vendor. It'll make it a lot easier to get paid if you are one of the chosen 3 at the end. And it's on our website. You can go to UCF procurement and there's a link to become a vendor at UCF. So this is kind of where the Q&A kind of comes into play. If anybody has questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We can go through a hand raise process if people would like to have an interaction. We just don't want it to be chaos where there's 20 people talking at the same time. So we can, it looks like Dr. Jake has his hand raised, so we'll go through a hand raise process.
All right. Hey, appreciate it. So on the previous slide, you had April 18 was demo day. Is that right? April 18
Yes.
demo day. What's the difference between demo day and the live demo event?
So if you go to challenge.gov, it'll tell you all of the stuff that's required to submit, and then it'll tell you what you need to have for demo day. So your submission will get you paired down to semifinalists, and then as a semifinalist, you need to have certain things submitted to us at Tech Grove for the demo day in order to fulfill the requirement for demo day.
Got it. Thanks, Chris.
Make sense? Okay. Is there any other questions that anyone has? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Chris, while we're waiting for folks to think of questions they want to ask the teams, Kevin Hires again. Just wanted to really emphasize the ground-based autonomous need as the priority here. It's been a lot of investment over the last many years in autonomous airborne assets, UAS, and so the real opportunity for the wildfire community, the interagency community that's tracking this prize challenge is to advance those ground-based autonomous and remote controlled vehicles for a firefighting function. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Kevin. Is there anybody not familiar with challenge.gov? Is there anybody that has any questions on what that is or how to navigate so everybody can get to the challenge so that they can submit?
I'm unfamiliar with the webpage, but I see that Sarah Hand dropped a link in the chat.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you, Sarah.
Also put in the UCF supplier registration link.
Ah, good job. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, it'll really cut down on the time to get your prize money if you go ahead and register.
So can I ask a question, Chris?
Of course.
Okay, Kevin, you've been looking at a lot of things and you've come to Tech Grove to help us with this challenge. What are the things that you've seen so far in the marketplace that you liked? And what did you see that you really didn't like as far as equipment in this space?
So we have had a kind of a broad exposure the last several weeks to months within the tech industry that has elements that could really enhance firefighting operations. And what I've really enjoyed seeing is honestly the creativity among multiple teams, be it the software teams that are thinking about autonomy or hardening hardware through a really creative application of fire resistant materials and autonomous vehicles. The most critical thing that I haven't seen as much yet is really understanding and focusing in on a firefighting function that autonomous vehicle is intended to accomplish. We don't need a super bot to do all things, but we intentionally have left firefighting operational applications broadly defined. There has been some amazing creativity at the tabletop, just in sort of thinking through what things that current technology could accomplish. We are not afraid of a little bit lower TRL, stretch projects, particularly that combine, advances in multiple teams, multiple disciplines. So very excited. I think really focusing in though on those firefighting operational functions that a team wants to address is going to be essential here, and that may be a weakness of some of the ideas so far. But we do have a number of firefighting experts that are both part of the judge panel, but also available on the call today if you have questions. Wildland fire is an interagency operation, and we're privileged to have both the Director of Fire and Emergency Services at OSD, Sam Jewell, on the phone here to understand some of the departmental needs. But we also have our sister agency, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, represented through their Deputy Fire Director, John Wallace. And so, really thinking through those firefighting functions and then applying them creatively to those new technologies is essential. And I've been really excited about some of the creativity we've seen.
Thanks, Kevin. We have in the chat. Is there any preference on communications for autonomous systems, Wi-Fi versus LoRaWAN radio?
I'm going to kick that over first to John Wallace, and then see if Ann has a slightly different preference for DoD lands.
Thanks, Kevin. So, I don't think there's any significant preference between the two. With recent advances in satellite to ground communications by Starlink, we are looking at ways to get Wi-Fi across the landscape. And so, maybe a part of this challenge is to help perpetuate that. But then, we haven't had a lot of discussions since the release of the idea that we could now get Starlink to our cell phones. And so, I'm kind of interested in the idea of Wi-Fi with mesh networks across the fire line. I think there's a lot of promise in that. With radios, we've started moving more to that TAK, TAK, team awareness kit package. And, with that comes a degree of satellite communications that we haven't had before, maybe Wi-Fi communications. And so, I think there's a lot of possibilities there. We just have to think through them. But I don't think anything is out of the realm of possibility right now.
Yeah, thank you. This is Ann, and I would echo what John just said. So on the installations, probably providing a variety of capabilities, actually, where there is cross compatibility with the different types of communications. It's going to offer the broadest applicability regardless of where you are in the country or the landscape you're operating on. So I don't have a specific this versus that answer, but I do think across the field having almost that mixed media type capability might be beneficial. Over.
Marcus, is that helpful?
Yes, that was really helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Kevin, when you're talking about firefighter safety, increasing the safety for firefighters, what are the top reasons that firefighters are injured or killed?
I will actually defer this to John in terms of the number of fatalities or injuries. But I will come back to just the idea that there are times and conditions that human presence on the fire line is just simply too dangerous. And that includes excessive heat. We've had recorded temperatures just in the Central Valley on a fire this past year of 115 degrees. Nighttime operations continue to challenge. When you have a hillside burn, there's boulders that sometimes become dislodged as vegetation is removed. It's called rollout. Anything down below is inaccessible at that point. And to be able to hit some of these requirements under those conditions where just human safety is prevents accessibility or firefighters from even doing the simplest surveillance tasks is essential. But in terms of the major safety issues, John, that face firefighters in terms of those injuries and statistics, I don't know if you had those off the top of your head.
Thanks, Kevin. One of the largest ones that jumps out to me immediately, and one of the biggest things that we have to mitigate against now is the presence of all these dead trees on the landscape. When I started fighting fire in the late 80s, early 90s, we didn't have that. And so we've had, numerous years of insect and disease across the Western and Eastern United States that have left, millions of dead trees standing across the landscape. And we're seeing more and more firefighters get hit by falling trees or by limbs from falling trees. I was really struck, 2 years ago, I was at Sequoia National Park in California, and I just stood there and listened to the dead limbs falling out of the trees. And it was eerie because I knew that I was ultimately responsible for the firefighters and their safety out on that landscape with all those falling trees, all those falling limbs from those dead trees. So that is one of our biggest concerns that has grown exponentially over the last 30 years. Kevin mentioned rollout. Firefighters always get hit by rocks. As the heat expands those rocks on the landscape, they loosen up, they roll down. I myself have suffered a broken rib because of a rock hitting me. It's just one of those things. The smoke is another big one that we really have to watch firefighters with. We do not carry breathing apparatus because of the weight. And so smoke inhalation is a real issue for us. Another one is the proximity to fire. I suspect you're all aware of the fire shelters that firefighters carry on their backs as they're out in the woods. Those fire shelters weigh 7 pounds, and that is considered kind of the upper limit of what we want a fire shelter that a firefighter carries to weigh. That firefighter's got water, they've got all their other gear with them. And so that fire shelter and the weight of it is really critical. What if, though, we had an autonomous vehicle that could carry some sort of fire shelter that an entire crew could get into that was made of much more durable material? That 7-pound fire shelter, we really understand that it is not going to be able to protect firefighters from a lot of direct heat impingement. So, we're always interested in that direct flame contact, that heat contact that the fire shelter is supposed to protect us against, but we all realize that it doesn't do the best job because we're weight limited on it. So I'm going to take a breath.
Hey, John, I'll just chime in unless Ann wants to add, at least on the DoD side, autonomy can also be just driven by the risk of unexploded ordnance and the need to access ranges, ranges in areas that are just too unsafe for human presence. And again, just being able to mitigate some of the risk through autonomy or remote control vehicles is essential on DoD lands as well that may or may not be forested in the same way our adjacent partner lands are.
Yeah, thanks. The only thing I'd add, nothing really more from the installation level. UXO probably is that more significant hazard for the types of fires we have on the installations, but in that broader wildland workforce, just to add on to what John was already laying out, certainly these folks are working extremely long days, arduous work, austere types of environments. There's recruitment retention issues. Having enough people anyway can be challenged. So anything that takes the load off of those individuals, and in addition to the fire shelter capability, like John was describing, having, they will not carry and are not expected to carry SCBA type equipment for air filtration. So they are breathing smoke all day. There's different types of particle mass, but again, that's not accepted in the wildland workforce to wear a mask while they're doing the kind of work they do. So in addition to having sheltering capabilities, is there a way to have that air source that they're not carrying, but they could get some respite from the smoke that they're working in as sort of a recovery situation to continue the work in those long days that they do? Over.
And I want to add on to what you just said, Ann, about firefighter fatigue. And so imagine operating a bulldozer in a wildland fire environment for 12, 14 hours a day, and what that could do to your body. It beats you to pieces. You're inhaling dust, you're inhaling smoke. That constant pounding of that bulldozer is really wearing on you. So, we've wondered how we might be able to work with remote controlled vehicles to make it much easier for the operators, while at the same time still being able to look out for those firefighters that are on the ground operating near that equipment.
Okay, we have a question in the chat. Lisa, we might need your help. Is there a requirement for the product to be American made? Do we have to follow any like Buy America, Buy American for the submissions?
So this is Kevin. I'm going to just chime in and say we have to abide by all executive orders on the topic. And so that's an answer that is going to need a factual response. But if there are any executive orders, such as those controlling purchase of UAS and requiring blue drones, those EOs must be followed by submissions.
There you go. Thank you, Kevin.
And Chris, I will jump on top of that. This is Erin Baker. There is a requirement to be a U.S. citizen to submit a solution. That is one of the requirements for entry. So if you have a special case where you have a product that's potentially not American made, but you are an American citizen, you can reach out to us and we can have a conversation on a case-by-case basis. But I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you, Erin. Does anyone else have questions?
Yes, hi, this is Gaurav Bhatt. I think just following up on that topic, if we are talking about military lands and DoD lands, then international technology would be scrutinized quite heavily, I suspect.
Yeah, I can definitely see that as well. This is one of those that we will follow up on and we'll post a response to that question. But I'm going to take this one offline. Given all the executive orders and all of the change that we've had in the very recent past, I want to make sure we have the latest, most up-to-date information for you all. So we'll take that question offline and we'll make sure we get an answer for it.
Thank you.
Per John's last comment about remote control bulldozers, are remote control technologies equally interesting to you or strictly autonomous?
Chris, I'll jump in and start that. We intentionally left open the option for, what are undoubtedly a little bit higher TRL options, such as, bulldozers that are capable of firefighting functions, that may have been around, that remote control capacity may have been around for a long time. It'll be essential to sort of also think creatively about some of the autonomy. Both are of interest, and can compete equally well in trying to address that firefighting function or operational activity that the team is trying to accomplish. And so we don't want to discourage either, and do emphasize that we've intentionally left it broad so that we get a range of options from mid to high TRL.
Chris, can I trouble you to go back to the slide that has the desired solution from the customer? Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. So I'll answer the number one question that we get at the Tech Grove. Is the government going to award a contract out of this prize challenge? And I'll give you the same answer that we give for every prize challenge. It is completely up to the customer at the end of the prize challenge. They reserve the right. The Tech Grove has nothing to do with the awarding of contracts. So whoever has that question and wants to ask it, hopefully I answered it. We are completely autonomous from the contracting process. So it'll all depend on the customer's wants and needs and desires at the end of the challenge.
I'm going to throw a question out just because of the conversation that we had, where the challenge aims to accelerate the evaluation and deployment of autonomous, and Kevin, you said very specifically that it's not specific, firefighting technologies, but that the outcome is increased efficiency in firefighting operations, improved firefighting safety, scalable solutions. John was talking about things like fire shelter, different things that maybe an autonomous entity could carry in, but yet some of these things were quite heavy. Is this only the autonomous, or if some of those other things that John mentioned that could be deployed in were lighter, more resilient, more protective, do you want those to be submitted for this challenge?
Sarah, I think that when I was trying to answer one of Chris's questions about things that we've liked, I think the the inclusion of more sophisticated functions like autonomy or remote control with hardened sheltered material, or the capacity to bring in, I think we discussed at the tabletop, the capacity to have a UTV, ATV, something that is fire hardened, may eliminate the ability of a driver to see. And that's why autonomy with capacity to remove something heavy or relatively unique, if it's a sort of a fire resistant or heat resistant materials, those combinations with autonomy are of interest. Broadly speaking, the technology and even the tabletop brainstorming has, I think, highlighted opportunities to explore more advanced technologies for specific functions outside of autonomy. But for this prize challenge, we want those vehicles to have a function, and the creative combinations of technologies to enhance the operational use or utility of a autonomous or remote control vehicle is the focus.
Great. So that means our audience should, in addition to this, continue to monitor what SERDP and Tech Grove are doing together for additional types of innovation that could give us the desired outcomes that we're looking for.
Absolutely.
One last question, Kevin. When we were looking at autonomous firefighting technologies. One of the conversations that we heard with some of the subject matter experts we talked about is the use of situational awareness as far as increasing firefighter safety and sensors that might be autonomous or be included on autonomous type vehicles. Can you speak to that at all?
I'll also ask if John and Ann wanted to chime in on this, but my recollection of some of the conversations we had on sort of the overall network capacity or other surveillance or communication solutions within an autonomous within that autonomous context could include mobile repeaters, mobile communications, mobile networks that automatically sort of optimize their location, on the fire line, and ensure communications, or that collectively sort of move and adjust to make sure the common operating picture and situational awareness is sustained. I think that as long as those networks, just like a fire shelter material, are tied to autonomy in some function, that would fall within the scope of this challenge. Just having sort of a common operating picture or visual, I guess some sort of data integration system independent of autonomy is not what this challenge is after.
Awesome. Thank you.
Quick questions, Josh Wilkins. Will there'll be information provided on the final live fire demonstration site as far as terrain, vegetation type, water sources, that kind of thing?
We should have a full logistics plan put together prior to the controlled burn.
And I think just to emphasize, we're going to call this a field exercise, and probably depending on the readiness level and the function that's being looked at, I think that the presence of smoke and fire may be essential for demonstrating some of the tools, but the idea is to get this out in the field with a real fire crew, put eyes on the tools, technology, and the solution sets that the top three score projects have come up with, and really to try to generate as much realism and demonstration of realism and applicability as we can right off the bat. So if a particular technology does not require fire, that demonstration, it is a field demonstration, could be easily could accommodate just some basic functionality or testing, either distance or terrain. But Merritt Island, which is one of our preferred sites for this field exercise, is pretty flat. It may be a little wet, but if we have a fire, I don't know that they tend to be hot, John, and so I just want to make sure that we're going to adjust that sort of the field day depending on the technology and sort of what folks are ready for.
Perfect. Thank you.
And as always, prescribed fire is going to be weather dependent.
All right. Any other questions?
Hey, Chris, JC, Pancho, is there a list or location of organizations that may be looking to partner that is accessible to the team, or is the teaming just up to the organizations that want to participate? Over.
So the companies that were here for the tabletop exchange were able to network and connect and partner up or team up if they saw the necessary need to. The only other opportunity would really be to just see. We'll have the recording that'll go out for this, so you'll know who was on this call. There's really no other way for us to kind of like foster that kind of collaboration Most of the partnering that we see happen is either at the exchanges or at the demo day, because everybody is invited to the demo day, even people that aren't participating in the challenge. So if you're selected as a semifinalist for the demo day, then you'll have access to everybody that's presenting and access to everybody that's in attendance to see the presentations. So those are really I would say the three ways that people are able to reach out and partner up and team up together. Probably not the best answer you wanted to hear, but we really don't have like call it a way to partner or provide access for people to partner.
Chris, I'll collect anybody's contact information that they put into the chat right now.
Yeah, everybody will have access to this, and everybody that was at the tabletop exchange has access to the people that were there. Then your next best opportunity would be if you make it to the demo day semifinal. But if you don't get selected, still attend, and maybe you have a technology that complements somebody else's, and you can reach out to them, and maybe they get selected to the finals, and then you can partner up with them.
Hey, Chris, what we can do, this is Erin Baker. What we can do is if you're interested in partnering, go ahead and put all your information in the chat. And what we can do is reach out and potentially let people know that there are people looking to partner, and see if anybody from the tabletop exchange is looking for somebody with your desired capabilities. So if you want to send, put your information in the chat, we can get a one-page from you and we'll try to connect you the best that we can. I think that's the best that we can do.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Cool.
Was the tabletop event recorded by chance?
It was not.
Okay.
It was transcribed, but it wasn't recorded.
Do you mind sharing a recap of the timeline?
Chris, there was a request for a recap of the timeline. I think that was on a slide. If you don't mind just advancing down it, the chat.
Yeah, we can do that real quick. Again, this is just a highlight of the timeline. For the full timeline, you're going to want to go to challenge.gov. Where was that slide at? There it is. So deadline for submissions is 28 February. All the semifinalists will be notified by 18 March. And then they'll have a chance to get everything prepared for demo day on April 8th. And then after April 8th, you'll be notified that you're in the 3 finalists selection, and you'll have to be prepared to do your live demonstration with your equipment in Merritt Island the week of the 21st. But for a full timeline that has a couple extra things kind of laid out in there, go to challenge.gov and you'll get access to the full schedule. Any other questions? We got 8 minutes if anyone needs to use them.
I'll put that challenge.gov link back in because a couple of people joined us a little bit late. And
and for those of you, oh, go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, and also the UCF vendor list.
Right. If you're not a UCF vendor, please go to Sarah's link and become a vendor, because the prize money is paid out by UCF. All right. Well, this recording will be posted by tomorrow afternoon. Everybody that was here present will get the recording sent to them, whatever email they registered with, and we look forward to seeing all of your solutions that you submit. And again, any questions, feel free to submit techgrove@ucf.edu, or you can email me, clibutti, LIBUTTI @ucf.edu, and we will get all of your questions answered in a prompt time.
Great. Give me just a moment, Chris, and I will gather the contact information from here before we shut down the full meeting.
Okay, we can do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But those
Chris
of
and
you
Kevin,
that,
thanks a lot.
yeah, appreciate it. Any of you that want to sign off, go ahead and sign off. Anybody that wants to stick around for a couple minutes and collect data, go ahead and do so.
All right, thanks, everyone.